In recent years, the public has become more aware of possible surveillance techniques. With new technology comes new ways for your personal information to be gathered, analyzed, and capitalized upon. Have you ever even thought about how many accounts and websites have your date of birth, your address, your credit card number? When was the last time you actually read a term of service or a user agreement? Your information, along with millions of others, is being sold to companies you've never even heard of and using it in mysterious ways. With new technology also comes new forms of protection. VPNs, Tor browser, and even the tape you put over your webcam are ways to help protect your own personal information. Try to imagine how you'd combat the collection of not your browsing data, but your biometrics. How do you stop your chairs, scales, and fridges from collecting your information on your comfortability, diet, weight, and more? I'd like to explore this question through the lens of a short story from 1925 by Edogawa Ranpo, The Human Chair. In short, The Human Chair is a story about a craftsman who produces his magnum opus. Unable to bring himself to part with it, he instead decides to build a compartment inside of it that he can live within. The craftsman then recounts his experiences living within the chair after it's sent to his client, a luxury hotel. The strange sensuality of being sat upon, the familiar shapes and scents of recurring patrons. This sounds like superfluous fiction. Who would live in a chair, right? But what happens when fiction becomes reality? Some memes today are even about your personal FBI agent who watches you through your webcam. These memes comment on how ridiculously you act when you believe you're alone, and how someone would react if they were watching you. While not directly accurate, there's enough of a stigma around surveillance that people feel the need to even cover their webcams. We're able to joke about these things, but there's a scary amount of truth beneath them. When will the reality come when our personal FBI agents are in our chairs instead of behind our webcams? I'll start with a reading from a passage. With just a thin layer of leather between the seat of his trousers and my knees, I could almost feel the warmth of his body. As for his broad, muscular shoulders, they rested flatly against my chest, while his two heavy arms were deposited squarely on mine. I could imagine this individual puffing away at his cigar, for the strong aroma came floating to my nostrils. Gradually, I could begin to distinguish the sitters just by the sense of touch rather than of sight. Those who were fat felt like large jellyfish, while those who were especially thin made me feel like I was supporting a skeleton. Other distinguishing factors consisted of the curve of the spine, the breadth of the shoulder blades, the length of the arms, and the thickness of the thighs, as well as the contour of their bottoms. It may seem strange, but I speak nothing but the truth when I say that, although all people may seem alike, there are countless distinguishing traits among all men which can be seen merely by the feel of their bodies. In fact, there are just as many differences as in the case of fingerprints or facial contours. This theory, of course, also applies to female bodies. The thing is, marketing something like a smart chair that reads your body weight distribution and adjusts cushioning to your needs would be fairly easy, and it could discreetly collect these additional measurements and then be sold. When would the joke shift from your FBI agent watching you through your webcam to being right behind you in your chair? At what point do cynical jokes about surveillance become reality? The Human Chair gives us a short 18-page window into a universe like this, but from the point of view of the surveiller. The detail Ranpo delves into is grotesque, almost chilling to read. As you're reading it, you start to become wary of what you're sitting on. It makes you hyper-aware of your chair. The conversation about personal information and surveillance capitalism is far from stale. There's been a long-standing debate on what information can and cannot be sold. In an article from the 2019 issue of Surveillance and Society, titled Surveillance Capitalism, Datification, and Unwaged Labor, The Rise of Wearable Fitness Devices and Interactive Life Insurance, talks about how wearable fitness devices like Fitbits are deployed by life insurance companies. An article from the 2019 issue of Surveillance and Society, titled Surveillance Capitalism, Datification, and Unwaged Labor, The Rise of Wearable Fitness Devices and Interactive Life Insurance, talks about how wearable fitness devices like Fitbits are deployed by life insurance companies as data-generating surveillance tech instead of as a personal health and fitness device. Certain interactive health insurance agencies offer a device for continuous preemptive analysis, tracking, profiling, and targeting. These companies are able to use personal health devices to track and record sensitive medical data that had been previously inaccessible. They later go on to say that prior to the consumerization of wearables, this data was legally safeguarded by doctor-patient confidentiality. The technology embedded in fitness trackers offers a way to bypass the legalities involved in the retrieval of sensitive data. These fitness trackers allow companies to get around the legal system and collect unprecedented data. This is a classic case of old law being subverted with new technology. The same could be foreseen for a biometric tracking chair. As new surveillance techniques are developed, legal systems often struggle to catch up and pass legislation limiting their capabilities, with the consumer's private information at risk.